Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Menino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hi, everybody. This is Michael Menino with Driven Unscripted Success podcast. Today on the podcast, we're interviewing professionals who share their experience with you on how they got to where they're at today. And zooming from the beautiful island of Arcadia, Florida, we've got Monte Vacarelli. How you doing, young man?
I'm doing very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for being on, taking the time out and sharing wisdom. So, if you could do me a quick intro, Monte, a little bit about yourself and where you came from, where you're at, how you got to where you're at today.
Okay, so I am Monte Vacarelli. I'm originally from upstate New York. I'm 54 years old. I'm single, no kids, never married, lived the life of a rock star, been a business owner since I was 27 years old. It wasn't all fun and games. It was a lot of work. I'm not super successful, and we all have different definitions of success. I'm sure we're going to cover that. But so essentially, I've been running businesses around the country. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I'm third generation business owner, and was a big motorcycle guy up until about 2.5 years ago. And we'll get into that part of the story later on. But moved to Florida 3 years ago. One of my business partners and his wife moved down here, and we all decided to move out of New York State during the pandemic, and we wound up doing that along with some of my family and friends, and some went to the Carolinas, and we wound up coming to Southwest Florida, and haven't looked back ever since, man. We're just doing life and whatever it takes, and pretty much whatever we want to do. So
that's awesome. I'm one of those refugees from Michigan. COVID locked down our state so much that we just kind of like go, we're not going to be here much longer.
Yeah, there's a lot of Michiganders. I live in a retirement farm. There's a bunch here.
There's a restaurant in I think it's Port Richey, and it was called the Detroiter. And we came in one time, and we were like 5 minutes. We thought we were there an hour early, but they closed at 7 instead of 8, and we got in at like 6:55. And I said, "Hey, listen, grab something to eat." "Oh, we're closed." And I said, "Hey, I'm from Detroit." And they go, "From Detroit." I go then I looked at the people at the table, and they're like, "Yeah, like everybody working there and everybody eating there was from Detroit." So yeah, you're 100% right.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And, what do you do for business now? You kind of explained it to me, and it's hard to understand, but I want to hear it again.
Okay. I have a multi-pronged business that I do operate from home. I work in the energy sector as an advisor and a recruiter. So it's like I expand a business by explaining a compensation plan attached to a service that people use 24 hours a day, and that is energy. So in multiple states where it's a deregulated market, we give people a choice of who their energy supplier is, typically with very, very competitive, if not guaranteed savings in certain states. And then another aspect of our business is called community solar. And that is where if you're just driving down a highway, you're in a rural area, you see out in the fields there, these giant solar farms. Essentially, the government has subsidized that. Developers go in there and they put these solar fields up, and you get a monthly discount for 20 years on your energy bill just by becoming a free subscriber to that service. And it doesn't
cost free.
Yeah, it's free because it's a government.
And then you just get a discount on your electric bill.
Because the community solar field is a subsidy, so it was they were funded back during the Inflation Act, or whatever they call that back then. They call it the Reduction Act, but it was literally just the opposite. But any state that took the funding for that, they had legislation. A lot of states, I think it's 26 of them currently, that have legislation on the books for them to start building these solar fields. The Northeast is probably the most mature market in New York State, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Maine. in New Jersey all have very mature markets there, meaning that there's a lot of supply. They're so heavily invested. They're kind of ahead of the game. So they build the solar fields. You sign up. You could be a renter. You could be a homeowner. You could be anybody that has a utility bill, small business. Um, they can sign up for that program for free. They get a monthly discount. In New Jersey, it's 20%. New York State is like 5%, and it varies depending on the state. But they sign up for free. They get a monthly discount every year. I mean, every month for 20 years, and there's no cost to them. Because here's the thing: is we literally have already paid for it. It's a subsidy. The developers, investors, and there's other people involved in there too. But everyone goes away happy at the end of the day. Party A makes money. Party B saves money. And for those that are on the environmental bandwagon, it makes them happy too. So
Nice. It sounds good. I mean, it sounds like a win-win situation for everybody.
yeah. I just put people in contact. I literally just teach people how that thing works. And as a recruiter, I also teach people how to make money explaining this program to other people. So
Nice, beautiful. Is there a lot of competition in what you do, and what sets you apart from everybody else?
To answer your question, on the electric side, there is competition. What sets us apart from that particular area is technology. We're the only company in the United States that offers this program called autosave, which allows the consumer to choose a third-party supplier. Which, let's say it's my company, and I'm not going to plug it on here right now, but they choose my company, and as let's say that over the course of 12 months, 9 out of those months we can save you money, but on months where we can't, you revert back to the incumbent provider, whoever it is. Let's say it's in New York State, you're a National Grid customer. Well, if you have a third-party supplier, I'll say that in New Jersey. I'm sorry, let me go back. Let me back up. Let me say that's in Massachusetts, because we don't sell electricity in New York State. But in Massachusetts, if it's National Grid, you sign up as a third-party supplier, you still get your electricity comes from National Grid, they service the lines, they deliver it to your house. That never goes away. But as a supplier, you choose our company, you get a discounted rate for whatever the term is, and at the end of the term, you get switched onto this program called AutoSave. So let's say that National Grid for out of 12 months has 3 months where they're less than us. You would revert to them. But if we're always less than the utility, then you pay the lower rate. So you're always saving money. You're never paying more than what the utility would ever charge. So then that's what sets us apart in the electric markets. The other thing is we're the only direct sales company in America that offers community solar. We're the only ones that do it like this. And in that 2.5 years now that we started this business, we have become the largest aggregator of community solar subscribers in America. To give you an example,
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. One of our accolades is when this first started, our only market was in Maine, and up to that point, these community solar companies were trying to get subscribers. They had like one field that was about 5,000 people that would power about 5,000, right? So it took them 4.5 years using traditional marketing methods, door knockers, mailers, booths and trade shows and stuff like that. It took them 4.5 years to fill that. When they signed up with our company, they gave us a test run. They gave us another field about the same size, about 5,000. It didn't take us 4.5 years. It took us 4.5 months. And we don't do an ounce of advertising. So
was it word of mouth?
Yeah, it's word of mouth. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a whole
that's the best advertising there is.
Yeah, well, we have a system to teach people to do it properly, and it works. It works. We're going to be $1 billion business through this. We're only 2.5 years into this right now, but our CEO 16 years ago started another energy business that within, I think, 7 or 8 years of him starting that company, or I think maybe even 10 years, he was bought out for $500 million on a $1 million investment of seed money that he started 16 years ago. This company, we have backing, financial backing, by one of the largest investment groups in the world. Actually, they actually gave us a capital commitment of $100 million to our CEO, and so we're rocking and rolling, man. We're just, I mean, we're still in the ground floor of this thing, but it is just unbelievable what we're doing.
Yeah, congratulations.
So,
Sounds
yeah,
great.
so I don't mean to but
If somebody listening to the podcast wants to get better at what you do, what tips and suggestions would you give them? I mean, it sounds like you got a pretty good systems and process. What would you give them?
do me a favor, repeat the question, because I could hear you, but we got a storm coming into Florida, so
Sorry about that.
okay. No.
If someone listening to the podcast wants to get better at what you do, what would you suggest to them, and what tips and tricks would you give them?
Oh, well, that's a good question, and I have a great answer for you. First and foremost, that this, our company and what I do in this industry as a whole is based on servant leadership. So when a brand new person joins our business, my tips to them isn't just tips in my business; it's tips throughout life, because these couple of tips are foundation, and they will. I started this program 31 years ago, and it's gotten me through the deepest, darkest parts of my life ever, and I've come out on the other side very stronger and smarter, more efficient. So
Servant leadership, I like that.
yeah, it's essentially this. When I was a young guy, I had a mentor. I had a couple of really good mentors, and they kind of showed me the way, because I was out there winging it on my own and not having any success. And so my key to a lot of people when they join forces with me, or if they're seeking advice, I would say, listen, you need a good mentor. You need to find people that are where you are and where you want to be in life, and emulate them and follow what works for them. You want to duplicate that. And there's no better tool than somebody who's successful teaching you exactly what they did to get where they are.
Agreed wholeheartedly. I paid a lot of money for coaching, and it's all been very worth it. Every one of them has been giving me more advice than I could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Real quick, Monty, what are the biggest challenges you've had in your life, and how have you overcome it?
Okay, that's a great question. I know that you know the answer to this already, but I'm gonna.
Well, let's tell the audience.
We had previously we had our pre-talk here, so I've actually. Can I tie this into one of those tips?
Sure.
Okay, so
that'd be great.
The second tip I want to tell you, and then I'm going to tell you about the biggest challenge of my life, is this: you want to get heavily involved in self-development. You want to make yourself strong mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, financially. You want to maximize every area of your life, because you're going to be faced with challenges. And if you're unprepared, I've seen way too many people that encountered a situation like that I'm in, and they have given up. And I mean, they have just given up inside, and they're just waiting for that coffin to catch up. And they're just dead inside. And it's a sad sight to see people just give up on themselves, when there's so much that they could have and achieve if they just believe it for themselves, and just take consistent action to getting to your goals, and you can make that happen. So here's the challenge. As I mentioned, I moved here from New York State, upstate New York, in January of 22. I moved to Southwest Florida, and I was living my dreams. I was down here running a business. I'm a motorcycle guy, so I was riding my dream motorcycles. I had just purchased a house. And I survived Ian, a direct hit by Ian, which was just incredible. I just can't even believe the stuff that I went through that first year. And then on January 16th of 2023, I went out for a ride on a motorcycle.
Which you can do in Florida.
Yeah, which is, one of the reasons why I moved here, because you could do it year round, and I was all about that. So I went out for a ride, and I was in a bad crash. I wound up in Sarasota. I wound up being airlifted to Sarasota Memorial Hospital, to the trauma center, where I had broken 8 ribs, smashed my clavicle, broke my left wrist, broke my nose, broke 2 vertebrae in my back, and punctured both lungs. I was in a coma for 5 days. I was intubated for 9 days. And when I woke up, I was told I was never going to walk again. However, that's where this tip comes into, that second tip about being immersed in self-development. Because first and foremost, that self-development is going to start with your spiritual world. Because if you don't get that right, if you don't get a relationship with your maker, everything that you're doing is just futile. I mean, there's no purpose without the foundation. You're building the house on sand. So I woke up in the hospital, not knowing where I was, what happened to me. I did have some really awesome spiritual experience when that happened, but that's a different.
Well, what was your awesome spiritual experience?
God spoke to me the words of Isaiah 43:1 while I was in a coma.
What are the words?
Oh, very interesting question. Let me read it to you.
Okay, shoot.
Let me just pull this up real quick here. I have this device called a Bible. This particular one happens to be the New International Version. So here I am, dude. I'm in a coma, not knowing where I am, knowing that I'm somewhere, but I don't know where I am. All I could see is white facing down, and then just black, everything above me. And I was just overcome with this peace, comfort, knowing inside. I'm inside my. I don't know how to describe it, man. Anyway, that's what I saw, and then I was not scared at all. A lot of people ask me, "Were you scared?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I wasn't scared at all. I had no idea what happened to me." And I hear these words coming to me that I'll read the entire thing. It's actually 43:1-3, and it reads, "But now thus says the Lord, He who created you, O Jacob, He who formed you, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed you." These are the words I heard right here. Is fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. And then it goes on to say in the last verse, hang on a second. This one's a little tough for me to get through, if you could understand.
I completely understand.
And it goes on to say that when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, Savior. So thank you for listening to that. That's a tough one to get through, but I heard those words, and it was unbelievable. After I had come out of the coma, about a week and a half later, where I could talk, because on day 9 they finally took the tube out of me, so I could actually talk. And I'll add a little funny story on and to this is that, so when they took the tube out of me, my best friend that lived down here, my business partner, was at my bedside, and he took the tube out. And he goes, "You know what happened to you?" And I'm like, "No, it's the first time I could barely talk." And he's like, "Yeah, you were in a bad wreck." He goes, "You know where you are?" And I'm like, "Nah." And he's like, "Yeah, you were in a bad wreck, man. You wrecked your motorcycle, and they flew you here." And I grabbed his wrist and I pulled him close to me, and I said to him, Kirk, what bike was I on?" And he goes, "Oh, you were on your VMAX." Now, mind you, I owned 2 motorcycles at the time. I had a Yamaha VMAX and I had an Indian Chief. And I told him, I said, "Oh my God, I'm glad it was the Yamaha, because if you told me if I wrecked that Indian, I would have told me to unplug me." But anyway, so getting back to this is about a week and a half after I was able to talk, I got a phone call from a friend of mine in Texas, and this guy's a big basketball coach. He was really, really big guy in the basketball world. Long story short is that he calls me with a big Southern drawl, and he's finding out how I'm doing. And he asked me, he said, "Hey, have you ever seen this series, The Chosen?" I'm like, "No." And lying in a hospital bed, can't move my legs. I'm like, "No." Uh, and he's like, "Well, why don't you watch it? You got some time." So I literally did. I started watching that evening after they give me my meds and everything. I got this iPhone set up on my bed like 3 inches from my face so I could see the screen. And I began watching the Chosen. And just for your viewers' sake, I am a Christian, and I'm not ashamed. I make no bones about it. So anyway,
Too, brother.
they open up the very first episode, season 1, episode 1. The very first scene is,
I called you my name.
I called you. You can't make it up. And they start reading 43. I mean, literally like a bolt of lightning went through my body, but in a good way.
Yeah.
That was just an unbelievable confirmation, because I had never even heard it before. I mean, I barely even ever remember reading that ever in my 31 years of on my journey.
Well, that's basically how God talks to you. This is a good book. It's a great way to communicate. And it's I've heard a couple words from God, and it's usually whatever He asks me to do is insane.
Yeah.
And if you read the book, He's asked a lot of people to do a lot of insane things.
Yeah, I know, right? I absolutely, and I can't even tell you the responses I got when I was laying in that hospital, man. I actually asked my buddy to stop at my house on his next visit. He came by, and he brought all the stuff that I asked him to bring. He brought both of my Bibles, and I had a study guide with me. And I mean, I've always read, but I got poured into the book of Isaiah after that. Like, I took a deep dive on it, and I'm to this day, I was like, I have so many markings in there that I just go back to, because you find stuff that even though you read it 100 times, that 101st time that you read it, all of a sudden something clicks. You learn.
Well, he's talking to you. Everything else is noise until he italicizes what he wants to talk to you about.
Yeah. So let me finish up the question. You said, what's the biggest challenge you've ever overcome? Well, let me explain a little something. I had a spinal cord injury, and most people never recover from this type of injury.
No, they don't repair themselves.
Yep. Over the course of 2.5 years, I'm able to stand up and walk, but it's not like I'm going to go walk from here down the street. I'm limited right now. I'm building muscle. I've lost a lot of strength in my hip, in my right leg. So I never lost feeling. I'm able to independently move my foot, and sometimes I can curl my toes. That's a huge one when I can do that. It's just a lot of therapy. I go to the pool a couple days a week. I do floor exercises here in the house, and I actually am strong enough now I can get myself at the gym. I drive over there, and I have a wheelchair that I'm able to pop out of the back of my truck and then wheel myself around there. So I could walk, using a walker, but it would just destroy me. Trying to do the workout and doing the walking with the walker would kill me. So I use the chair to conserve my energy, and then just do the upper body workout there, and then focus on the therapy in the gym. My faith in God is that thing. When you get those tips right, you want that self-development, get that relationship right, because it's just like I said, you're wasting time if you don't have that area right. Everything else will just fall without it. By the way, I'm just standing up. I'm standing up while I'm talking. I have to do that.
Well, good. That's awesome, man. That's fantastic. It's amazing that you can. Praise God. I've seen a lot of crazy things in this world.
Yeah.
And when he talks, it's usually a revelation.
Well, it's been a blessing. So here's a challenge that I was faced with immediately, is that I'm lying in a hospital bed. I own a traditional business, and I have a full-time job with a company that I contract with I was maintaining 1,500 rental properties down here. So as a carpenter, a cabinet maker, fine finish guy, home repair dude, I lost my ability to perform. And most people are not prepared for that. I was fortunate that I had my financial house in order prior to the accident. Um, I want to say that I'm prospering through this. And here's one of the keys is that Warren Buffett once said that if you don't have a way to earn money while you sleep, you will work until you die. Well, I'm not in a position to go stand in front of Home Depot or greet you at Walmart. And that was never part of my retirement plan. But I knew of a way to create that kind of income. And that's
passive income. What do you do? What do you do? Help the listeners out. What do you do for passive income?
Okay, so I had mentioned earlier about we're in the energy business. So you ask yourself, how many people do you know use electricity?
Everybody.
Right. Do you think any of them would like to pay less for it, guaranteed?
I don't know anybody that wouldn't.
Right. Well, believe me, there's a few of them out there. You'll probably see them out there this weekend waving flags. But there's a handful of people that don't want to save money. But for those that do, we educate those people and get them up on the program. Not only do we acquire money for acquiring the subscribers and the electric customers, but we get a monthly residual payout. So the third question to that is what if you could learn to get paid every single month when people all around the country pay an energy bill, a bill that they can't live without, a bill that they're going to pay regardless of their situation because no one wants to take cold showers in the dark. Boom. People use energy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. And I honestly don't know another way that's better because there's no investment for an advisor. There's no investment for the contractors. They can get started like a franchise business overnight. I mean, like they can get started and start being profitable right from day one. I owned a traditional business for 27 years. There's no way on earth I was profitable from day one. I was good. I wasn't that good. I mean, I had work lined up and I worked my fanny off to build a 6-figure income washing cars by the time I was 30 years old. And I don't say that to pat myself on the back. I hustled like nobody. And I mean, I made it, and really don't have much to show for it other than the experience, but.
Well, you got passive income. You got money coming in for doing nothing.
Yeah, well, you get paid for what you get started. It's like having a royalty. You write a book one time, and if it sells, every time a copy of that book sells, you get paid.
Right.
It's almost like this. Remember back in the day before they had the Easy Pass and the digital thing on your card for the tolls. There used to be a toll booth. You know what? Out of all those cars, how many dimes and quarters were being chucked into those buckets every day? How would you like to have one of those toll booths on an
I would love it.
energy bill?
I would absolutely love it.
So that's what it's like for me.
Listen, Monte, I can't thank you enough for the podcast. You did a great job in sharing your story is going to be important to other people that are going through tough times. If anybody would like to contact you, how would they do that?
Well, I'm all over social media, so they can find me on Facebook as Monte Vacarelli. They can find me on LinkedIn at Monte Vacarelli. They can find me on Truth, X, and Instagram, also under Monte V. So come check us out, like and subscribe.
Sounds good, buddy. Listen, thanks a lot for the convo, and thanks for your time, and thanks for sharing your story, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure, and God bless everybody.
God bless, brother.
All right, take care.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.